Has it ever happened to you that you feel very motivated and you sit down with every intention to get some work done, but then you just get distracted? You scroll on your phone, start watching a TV show or some YouTube videos, and then suddenly you realize that the day is gone. If what I just said sounds familiar to you, then I know that there is one question that you must be asking yourself quite frequently, and that is, am I just lazy? But I'm here to tell you that you are not lazy at all. This is a part of the process, and we face this from time to time. We all face this sometime or the other. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what is the real reason behind procrastination. Because trust me when I tell you this, it is not because you are lazy. Let's start with fear. Fear of failure is one of the biggest reasons why we all procrastinate. This is because when we feel like we won't be able to do something well, it becomes very easy for us to just avoid it altogether. This might be due to perfectionism or you feeling like you are not good enough with something, and thus just avoiding it becomes so much easier than the risk of failing, right? This isn't laziness. This is just your mind trying to protect you from that fear of failing at something or that guilt that you might get if you end up failing. And thus, this is one of the biggest reasons why you end up procrastinating. Then there's feeling overwhelmed. Have you ever had a task that you feel is so big that it ends up overwhelming you because you just don't know where to start? And what your mind actually ends up doing is just freezing. And thus, it becomes very easy for your mind to push it aside instead of facing it with a brave face. And thus, what you end up actually doing is pushing that task aside and doing something that feels easier at that particular moment, like watching a YouTube video or watching a TV show or scrolling on your phone. You would rather do these things than face the problem head on, which actually leads to that smaller problem becoming a larger problem and you feeling even more lost after some time. Now, what might help in such a situation is that you divide your huge task into smaller, manageable steps. So if you have a project which you feel is very big and you feel lost, you have no idea where you should start from, just divide it into smaller parts. Start with the smallest step and then build gradually. You will realize things will start getting clearer in your head and it will become and things will start looking a little less scary. For example, if you are a student and you have a chapter that you need to finish which is extremely lengthy and it is of a subject that you hate, so instead of just writing complete chapter 1, you can try to break it down into smaller steps. For example, you can write your first step as read the chapter once, second step can be to do the solved examples, third step can be to read the chapter again, then next step can be to do the unsolved problems, then can be to do past year questions for that chapter or make notes and so on. This actually seems a little less scary because completing a huge chapter seems like a big task, but when you actually divide it into smaller steps, which in your head seem they are much easier to get done, and if you are writing that in your to-do list, whenever you complete a small task, you actually go and strike that off your list. It will give you a huge push to keep going forward. Now let's talk about instant gratification. You know, your mind is wired in such a way that you crave instant gratification. That is, you crave those dopamine hits that you get when you are scrolling through your phone or you're watching your favorite show. And you can get addicted to these dopamine hits. And of course, it is way easier than doing that hard task that you are avoiding. This is not laziness. Your mind simply craves these simple wins. And thus, whenever you feel too overwhelmed, you feel like picking up your phone will make you feel better because it actually does because of the dopamine hits. Now, what is important is that you recognize this fact that this is what social media is doing to you. And even though you might feel good at that particular time, you are actually creating much bigger problems for yourself. So, like I said, procrastination will actually make things even worse for you in the long run. Now, the thing is that you are actually using these small distractions to cope with uncomfortable emotions, and these small distractions of yours are creating bigger problems for you. So what you can do is, instead of going to your phone when you are feeling overwhelmed, you should try doing some other things to help ease your mind a bit. Now, these can be reading your book, reading a few pages of a book, or going for a walk, stretching, or just taking a quick power nap. These things will actually calm your mind, and scrolling on your phone will do the opposite. Now, the next reason of why you are procrastinating is because you set unrealistic standards for yourself. Now, how many times has it happened to you that you pick up your pretty little to-do list and you end up filling it up with hundreds of tasks? You will write down that I'm going to wake up early, I'm going to stretch, then I'm going to work out, I'm going to make myself a good breakfast, then I'm going to complete 3 to 4 chapters, and maybe even go for a walk or film a YouTube video if you're a content creator. The idea is that you are just filling up your to-do list with so many tasks. And what happens is, it's the evening or it's the middle of the day, and you look at your to-do list and you see that you have only finished like 2 or 3 of those tasks, and you end up feeling so demotivated. You feel like you are failing. This is because you were not able to do even the tasks that you set for yourself for one day. And thus what you do to avoid all of these uncomfortable emotions, you end up picking up your phone, lying on your bed and scrolling for hours, and your entire day goes to shit. Now, this is something that you absolutely don't want to do. So what is important for you is you set some achievable goals for yourself. That is, I have always said this, that you need to make a to-do list either during the end of the day for the next day or in the morning. But you need to plan your day. This is because you don't want to forget anything important by the end of the day. But it is also very crucial that whenever you're making your to-do list, you keep it achievable. You do not fill it up and just to feel more productive, because this is not being productive, this is being toxic productive, this is toxic productivity, and you want to avoid that at all costs. Because even if you are able to fulfill all of your 20 tasks for like 2 to 3 days, the chances of you getting burned out on the fourth day are much higher. So it is much easier for you if you divide your tasks equally throughout the week, instead of just pushing it all into 3 or 4 days and then feeling completely burned out for the rest of the week. So now you know the truth behind your procrastination. It is not because you're lazy, it is because you have a fear of failure, you are feeling overwhelmed, you are craving those dopamine hits. It is a kind of thing to deal with with your uncomfortable emotions, and because you are setting very unrealistic standards for yourself. And what you have to do is the complete opposite of these things. So identify the root cause of your fear of failure. Why are you so afraid of failing at something? Is it because you feel like you're not good at something? And if that is the case, then you should take out some time from your day to actually work on those things, because procrastinating is just a way of avoiding the problem. It is not solving it. The second tip was to break down your tasks into small, manageable steps so that it becomes easier for you to complete a particular task without it making you feel overwhelmed and anxious. I want to give you a small tip which really helps me when I feel really overwhelmed and I catch myself procrastinating. It is, I will set a Pomodoro timer. I know you all must have heard about this so many times, even I have talked about this, and it is because it actually works. So whenever you feel like you don't know where to start, just count till 3. Just do 3 to 1. This is a 3 to 1 rule, a 3 to 1 method that actually works wonders. You might have to do this 2 to 3 times, but it actually works. And you go and start a Pomodoro timer. You know that you just have 25 minutes to study, and after that you get a break. And in those 25 minutes just have to do some work. So it doesn't matter where you start. You don't have to start perfectly. You can start from anywhere, and you will notice that this will end up building a momentum. So just don't think so much. Don't overthink about this. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody is perfect, and stop chasing perfectionism because it doesn't exist. And so start with something small, and gradually it will build momentum, and you will end up finishing your tasks for the day without even realizing it. So that is all for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below if you could relate to any of these reasons for procrastination that I shared, and I will see you in my next video.